like the plays we saw? Well, we'll know when Mark starts telling us about As You Like It.
Well, at the Public Theater at the Delacorte in Central Park, you could see a revival of their public works production, the musical As You Like It. It's adapted by Shannon Taub and Laurie Woolery, with the music and lyrics by Taub and the choreography originally by Sonia Tayet and new choreography by Billy Griffin. And it's the story of exiles from this horrible dictator, Duke Frederick, into the Forest of Arden.
It's sort of like Into the Woods, but Shakespeare version, where all the characters end up in the woods and it changes them. That's where they all fall in love with each other and have arguments and put poems on trees.
Well, and Rosalind's the main character, and her father, who was the Duke's brother, was exiled by him. She's living with her beloved cousin, who's the Duke's daughter, but she knows her existence is precarious, and she soon will be banished. She falls in love at first sight with Orlando, who also has a problem brother.
Anyway, they can go see it because it's really wonderful, and it's got great people in it, like Shana Taub, who did the music. She plays the grumpy Jacques. Rebecca Naomi Jones is Rosalind, who gets to dress up as a boy and becomes Ganymede. And then Darius DeHaas, the father, and is great. I mean, it's got a great cast. I mean, and using all the community people as well. I mean, it's just so, it's always so much fun to see all the, regular folks from all 5 boroughs coming in, and you got the, real wrestlers, and you have the military coming in, and they're almost like the Wizard of Oz with, but in this case, it's like, the Duke is coming, it's so much fun. It makes you feel so good. You're in the park, you're with everyone. It's just delightful. I give it a total happy face.
It's just a really great show.
Yes. And you give it
happy face.
We're honored to have in our midst Mark Wilding, who has written a comedy that will be opening September 16th at the new theater we talked about on the last show, the AMT on 45th Street. It's called Our Man in Santiago, and we asked him to tell us what inspired him and to say a little bit about the play. So take it away, Mark.
I read an article in the Atlantic magazine many years ago. I mean, like 40 years ago at least. And in it, it's written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and he talked about the overthrow of Salvador Allende in Chile in 1973, and before that, according to Marquez, the CIA tried to get rid of Allende by sending a glee club down to Santiago, and that was their cover, and it was sort of 200 operatives who were experts in government overthrow. And the idea was that they would get down there under the cover of being a glee club and then overthrow Allende. And then, of course, they had to, according to the article, they had to scrap the mission halfway through because it turned out that most of the guys couldn't sing. So, and that seemed like a sort of a, I don't know, it stuck with me all these years, and I kept the article around because I thought there's something there. I couldn't figure out what it was. And it's only within the last sort of 3-4 years that I finally figured out, what it could be. And in this case, we pick up with the CIA in 1973, 3 years after the Glee Club fiasco. And they've got a couple of CIA agents who are down in Santiago who are trying to overthrow Allende, which is, of course, based on reality in terms of the CIA, having a vested interest in getting rid of him because he was a Marxist down in Chile, and both Richard Nixon, who was president then, and Henry Kissinger did not want a Marxist down there. They already had Castro in Cuba, and that was enough for them. So it was out of that I thought this could be kind of a fun play. The sort of device that I used for the play was that we start in a sort of a Senate committee hearing where we're hearing an agent sort of testify about what happened in Santiago. And so the play sort of begins and ends with that. But yeah, you do hear the Bad Glee Club
Didn't
singing.
at one time or another, didn't they blast rock and roll at him too? I mean, loud rock and roll. Or
I
something?
think, you know who they did that with? That was with Noriega. I think in Panama, they blasted bad rock and roll. But they were, you know, the CIA was always sort of hatching schemes to try to, you know, take down Allende or to poison Castro. And part of what the play looks at is, you know, the various sort of schemes, ill-fated schemes that the CIA has come up with over the years to try to get rid of world leaders that they don't like.
And you're opening at the new AMT Theater on 45th Street quite soon, right? 16th?
Yes, that will start. We have previews, I think the 13th, 14th, 15th, and then it opens September 16th. We're bringing the whole cast from LA, as well as the same producer, Ben Suglia, and Charlie Mount, who is the director in LA and has agreed to direct it again in New York. So we've got the same team on board, which I'm delighted with.
That's Our Man in Santiago by Mark Wilding, premiering September 16th at the AMT Theater on 45th Street. We'll have more on this after the play opens, a review and an extended conversation with Mr. Wilding on our September 24th show.
Sophie McIntosh's Macbitches has totally captured college drama students' cutthroat politics over casting in school productions. Queen Bee Rachel is calmly waiting for the inevitable casting of her for Lady Macbeth, while Lexi secretly hopes that for once it will be her. Piper and Cam, who are all roomies together with Rachel and Lexi, want that role too, but hope that they will at least get juicy parts. The rug is pulled out from all their upperclassmen feet when perky little freshman Haley gets the part. Religious kind Piper, who had met Haley when conducting freshman tours, invites her back to her dorm to meet her roomies, which thrills Haley, who admires Rachel very much. You may think you know where this is going, but there are twists and turns and machinations that will leave you gasping. And as an Ithaca College drama BA, I am too aware of the pecking order of self-involved acting students. This is one of the finest ensemble of actors, with each person taking their stereotype of the role and giving it layers and subtleties. This was one of those wonderful surprises where you come across a brilliant production with no false notes. Happy Face Plus.
Eva and I experienced The Ride this past week. The Ride is a remixed guided tour bus experience of New York City, equipped with custom-built stadium-style seating facing out through floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Tour guides playfully improvised as we drove through the streets of New York, commenting on pedestrians while humorously offering a unique perspective of the city. The experience is perfect for out-of-town visitors and even New Yorkers. Performers, including dancers and musicians, are creatively placed throughout the city streets to line up with the bus as we pass by. The 75-minute interactive ride experience includes New York fun facts and trivia. Now celebrating 30,000 rides in Midtown Manhattan, this experience outranks some of the longest running shows in New York, including Phantom and Chicago.
Oh, yeah, as you can see, they had a big celebration. I got a hat out of it, which I'm always pleased about. They had champagne there, and I got a chance to talk to Richard Humphreys, who is the artistic director, CEO, the creator, and he anyway, so I'm going to talk to him. And it's not great for vertigo, but I kind of like swallowed it all down because it was such a fun event. And there were some real New Yorkers on there, and they were talking about eating pizza, New York pizza, and so they were, like you said, all the hosts are different because it's so improvisational. So you don't know what kind of shtick you're going to get. Mine had so many bad puns in it. I was laughing my head off, and he was appreciative that there was someone there who appreciated puns. So it's a fun ride. Go and take it. Happy Face.
Happy Face.
Carlo D'Amore, Sarah Sutcliffe, and Phoebe John's Murder in La La Land takes place at Summit Studio in Hollywood, 1951. Sebastian Black has been thrown off the Colorado Bridge. Who would do such a thing? Barney, the head of the studio, Luz, Barney's assistant, Leopold, the drunken writer of the screenplay they are doing now, Atta, the director, Or the actors Chip and Alexandria. What could be the motive? Who has an alibi? Does Sebastian have any enemies? These and many other questions we get to quiz all the suspects. I was part of the group called the production assistants. The others that were helping out were caterers and other positions at the studio. And I am very pleased to say that we were the only ones that got everything right. Who did it? Why did they do it? And how did they do it? We had such a blast talking to the characters and conferring with each other. And one of our people was all the way from the Netherlands. How cool is that? The characters not only looked the part, but were able to stay in character as we relentlessly grilled them. Also, the beauty of this show is that it is on Zoom, so you don't have to leave your house or run around chasing after the suspects. You'll go gaga for murder in La La Land. Happy Face Plus.
In Timothy Allen MacDonald's Between the Lines, based on a book written by a mother-daughter team, Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer, 17-year-old Delilah is having a terrible time since her father left the family and she and her mom moved to a different town, where in her new high school, she's sort of gotten the wrath of the mean rich girl, Allie McAndrews, when Delilah accidentally injured Allie's knee. The only solace she finds is reading a children's fairy tale book that was privately printed, and there's a copy in the school library. And suddenly the Prince character, Prince Oliver, begins to speak directly to her. He's extremely handsome, extremely nice, and smitten with her. Can they both exist together in the same world, or will being together really be the happy ending that Delilah needs? This is more whimsical material than I usually like, but it was so well done. All the actors were really on spot, and the directing made the unbelievable fairy tale stuff believable. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I really recommend it.
Oh, look, if Mark, who usually doesn't like whimsical stuff like that, and you know me, I absolutely adored it, for goodness sakes. I mean, it was sort of like Purple Rose of Cairo, you know, with the coming out of the screen and falling in love with the real person. But it was so funny when they open up the book and you get the fairy tale characters, you know, out of character, you know, in bars and partying. And you mentioned that the villain is this guy that paints butterflies. I mean, they were really interesting characters, and they had Julia Murney in it, and we saw the understudy at the time, and she was really good. I mean, she was the mean girl.
Mean girl, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's so delightful. You've only got till September. It's closing now in September sometime. I'll have all the information so you can see it, but yeah, really, you don't want to miss this. It's just so much fun. The dog who wants to be human. Oh my God, the dog character is fantastic. So major happy face.
Absolutely.
From the press conference for Los OTROS, I got a chance to talk to the composer, Michael John LaChiusa, the director, Noah Himmelstein, and the actors, Cesar Samayoa and Luba Mason. And we have 3 musical numbers from it. And we'll review it next show. And I can tell you, I saw it already. It's tour de force, brilliant.
The piece is about 2 people, Lillian and Carlos, and how their lives intersect at one point. We follow their stories from Carlos being an immigrant here to this country from Mexico, and Lillian, who encounters the Los Otros, the others, and her experiences with that. And we're going to it's a through composed piece in some respects, so it's hard to pick out, you know, the top 20 song from it all. So we'll do like a little snitches and snatches of it all. We're going to start with a little number that Carlos, the character Carlos has. Carlos and his mother have escaped Mexico during a hurricane. And he and his mother wind up in Carlsbad, California. And it's hear a little bit of the number here. He's working at Mitas, and he's learning the language.
Winter 1st. February 1941. My brothers are serving in the Pacific. It is a swell thing to have a job at Nitas at my age. 12. I am a stock boy. Okay, a sales clerk. Okay, a janitor if you must. I learn good English from those who shop here. They like to shoot the breeze as I does.
One of her stories is her encounter where she goes over the border of Mexico with her ex-husband George, and they go and they find an illegal alien to bring over and smuggle in the back of her trunk of the car. And her name is Madeleine. And she brings her home to help take care of her 2 children, her little girls. And at one point, Madeleine falls in love, and she leaves the household. Lillian is invited to go to a party at Madeleine's new home, and she's invited to bring her daughters with her. And this is her experience.
The broad porch I step up to is like many on the street of once gracious 2-story houses. A gorgeous young woman, who turns out to be Ignacio's cousin, welcomes me inside. Cousin Bess shouts and chatter, enchiladas, full platter, rice and beans, kids dashing, big dachshunds, loud crashing, beer and cokes, and uncle who smokes and grunts. All this while music comes from 2 places at once.
These two are connected, not just, they both are in love with the same man at one point. She's married to George and divorces him. And of course, Carlos finds George and they become partners. And George passes away, unfortunately, and these two wind up at the funeral together. And they reminisce about living with George and being with George and about the future. It's in the year 2000, by the way. I should add that. Radio said it's in the year 2000. Does anybody remember that?
It's never a question of love that reaches out like light from a star. It is only a question of the light will reach how
Here we are with,
Michael John LaChiusa.
and I just was thinking of this. It never occurred to me before because your music, it makes me cry. It's just, I just hear your music.
In a good way.
But the thing is, I'm not listening to what they're saying. It's just the music starts and I start to weep. That's why I'm sniffling right now. But like a recipe, you put certain ingredients in to achieve a cake, a certain flavor. Do you use certain musical notes to evoke and know it's going to cause happiness, sadness? I mean, how do you use your notes to make a mood? I never thought of that before.
Sure, you always have those things in mind when you're choosing keys. What was it? Dvorak said that the earth vibrates in the key of D flat, which to me is a very hot, sexy key. So I like writing in D flat.
Oh, see?
Yes.
I didn't know.
5/4 time is like really, really sensual too. So those things go into thinking when you write something. It's really a lot of fun to kind of play with that puzzle. When I often tell my students this, that when I start writing a song, it's always like it comes from rhythm first for me. It's like, what's the heartbeat of the character? Is the character excited or is the character feeling it? So it all depends on what the heartbeat is, and that always comes first for me. my collaborator Ellen Fitzy, who wrote the lyrics in the book for this all. It was a biographical story about her life growing up in California as a child of migrant workers and the people whom she encountered as a white woman experiencing immigrants and her experiences with that, and as she was, living her life in California.
Every project has its own set of challenges. There's so much variety in this piece. It covers so much time. It covers the gamut of the human experience. It's never dull. It's always, every day there's a new challenge, new questions to ask, new things to reveal. So it takes just as much focus and imagination as doing a piece with 30 people. It's a real feast for two actors to get something like this, where it really takes kind of all of their experience and skill that they get to share. I mean, it's a real gift for us, but a real gift for actors to do this kind of material.
And it's so relevant right now.
It's extremely relevant. It's also about adding up. It's about two people at a crossroads in their life, and what are the choices they're going to make as they move forward. And right now we are in the midst of shaking off, some thorns, many kinds of thorns from our hearts, from the various kinds of pandemics that we're experiencing in the world. And here is the celebration of life, of what we've learned, but even more how we can celebrate each other in a better way and move forward. So it's incredible to pull it out now. And we're still tinkering with it every day, and new ideas and resonances in the world and what we're feeling. And that's the best part of working on a new musical, is it's always shifting, it's always changing. All different ideas in the room. You never know where the best idea is going to come from, and it may not always be your own. And it's the real collaboration that is it's nothing like it, working on a new musical. So I'm very grateful.
This is a two-person show. Carlos is a Mexican immigrant in Southern California, and you get to see his entire lifespan, actually, from when he's 4 years old till he's in his 70s. It's a beautiful story. There are incredible themes in both our stories, in Lillian's and Carlos' story. But with Carlos specifically, I love how much we touch upon the themes of assimilation for immigrants in the United States, and that beautiful kind of need to get back to our roots and where we came from and discover who we are as people and what our history is about.
It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, because I'm a first-generation American myself from Germany, but it's all the same. The parent wanted their kid to be American. Learning about baseball.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about that today. They said, do you like to be called Caesar or Cesar? And my name is Cesar. My family calls me Cesar, but my kindergarten teacher changed my name to Caesar to Americanize it. And at that point, it was a thing in our country. And my parents were absolutely. So I've been known as Caesar my entire life. But all the things that all my official documents say Cesar. And that's just one little story that a lot of immigrants like you and I have dealt with our entire lives.
Yeah, my Uncle Helmut became Uncle Howard.
Exactly.
It's very royal.
Yeah, and everything else too. Julius Caesar, Caesar Romero, everything you can, Caesar salad, everything you can think of.
I came from an ensemble piece pretty much on Broadway, and now it's just when we do come on stage, it's like a one-woman show or a one-man show. We have our movements. There's several movements in the piece, I think like 7 or 8. So, it's definitely challenging to it's a lot of music to sing. And Michael John LaChiusa, who wrote the music, who I think is quite brilliant, writes very challenging music. It's very rangy and rhythmically. It can be tough at times. So it's really getting a grip on that, and also I think just to hold the audience's attention, really, because we're telling a story. Both myself and Caesar, we're telling stories from our lifetime. So you just want to make sure you're connecting with the audience and making sure that they're in tune.
A tune, I like that. Nice pun.
Well, Michael John is, I think, quite great at painting painting the story with his music. You feel whatever you're singing. It helps with the emotion for the actor. It's extremely helpful. And Ellen Fitzhugh's lyrics are really quite stunning at times. I still get verklempt in at the end of a couple of my songs. They both write very movingly.
What do you hope other people will feel like you feel from doing this?
What do I hope other people will feel? Moved, inspired from our experiences. Mine from an Anglo perspective and his from a Latin perspective. It's a real timeless piece. It's what's happening today, and I hope it just kind of opens people's eyes up that these kind of instances are happening. Basically, she is a woman who I think is very daring, takes risks. She lives in Southern California, and throughout this piece, she's trying to find a connection with someone that she's been very unsuccessful almost her entire life. And maybe at the end, she finally finds it.
Our next show is September 24th. And because we have to do this show so early now, a lot of shows are falling through the cracks. But these are some of the plays we'll be seeing, so you can find the review on our Facebook page. Randy's Dandy Coaster Castle, Once Upon a Korean Time, which is my Yi, that's going to be at La Mama, The Near Disaster of Jasper and Casper. And then at 54 Below, they're doing 50 key musicals on September 11th. And you still have a chance to go to Little Island and see some shows there. And the Clive Barnes Award is back September 18th. And also on September 18th at the 92nd NY, it's called 92nd Street Live, not 92 NY, Tom Stoppard is going to be there talking. So there's so much going on. You don't want to miss any of it. And don't forget, you can see all of our shows on YouTube. Just look up Eva Heinemann, not the Japanese anime, but Eva Heinemann High Drama. Catch all of our shows there, subscribe, and also I'm going to have the interview from The Ride with Richard Humphrey there. So a lot of stuff ends up there that we don't have time to put on the show. So catch it. Check it out.